Nice. We are now live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Superlative Podcast. I'm Edward Bushi. One guest, no edits, no post production, just a sharp live conversation about what it really takes to reach higher levels and what comes next. So let's get into it. I want to give a warm, big welcome to Brent Vartan, who studied literary theory at Berkeley, then built a hybrid fund agency that puts consumer culture ahead of product and charges Fortune 50 companies for the privilege. But before we get into the story, two sentences like what is Bullish and what are you building right now? And Brent, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ed. It's great to be here. Really excited to do this. I think what you're doing with this podcast is really interesting. We talk a lot about bullish working in a particular life stage of business, and what we really try and focus on is the entrepreneurial spirit that's in startups or bigger companies trying to start something up. It's a great privilege to be able to take some of our experience and put it into this kind of new manifestation of brands in the 21st century. So that particular stage for consumer brands is really, really hard. We've got a collection of people and ways and experiences that we think give those businesses an unfair advantage.
Yeah, totally. And would love to dig into that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's backtrack a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You studied literary theory at Berkeley. That's like
Mm.
not it's not business. It's not like tech. It's not design, right? So just describe like what was it like back then? What did you learn that informed you the later version of Brent?
Way back in 1994.
Oh
Um,
wow,
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah, I graduated high school in '94 and Berkeley in '98 ish. So I was a pretty good athlete
hmm,
through most of my life, and well, I guess now the vast minority of my life now when I look at the ages. Um, so school didn't come easily to me,
hmm,
and that's probably why I spent so much time in sports. It put me in a good position to get into Cal, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and what I really understood is that English uh, was a foundational thing about thinking and organizing your thoughts, and with mixes of history in it when you look at the literature program. So it was really interesting to me, and I thought that would give me the most optionality, so to speak, going forward. And then I took a class on Kafka. Um,
whoa, philosophy.
well, kind of, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, very philosophical author.
yeah.
And it was the first and last A I got, but
Okay.
it was on a track towards literary theory, and
Mm,
the English program at Berkeley at the time, and I think it is still now, is exceptional. The literary theory program was really, really special, and what it is about the it's about meaning and structure,
mm,
and that is a skill that I kind of gravitated towards, and it is a muscle that I honed through school, and then it was unbeknownst to me, and then it was stuff I leaned on really, really heavily as I went into first advertising and now venture capital / advertising. So
mm,
it's pattern recognition, it's
yeah.
horizontal thinking, it's the creation of ideas and the authorship of them. So there's just a lot of parallels when I went into advertising, and now when we start looking at things that are pre-emergent, I would say.
Yeah.
So feels good. It feels really good. It definitely wasn't an A to B kind of journey.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
not at all. I mean, I'm like, you're, I'm one of the key things that I think you mentioned in the onboarding call was branding, right? And
Mhm.
you made distinctions like branding and not brand, but I don't want to get into that yet. But I just want to get into like that you didn't get into like even investing yet, right? You from literary theory you went into like advertising, and I resonate with that. I graduated from OCAD,
Mhm.
and I did an advertising program, and oh my God, like what we learned like and graduated from is radically different, and there's so much surface area for what you can like pick up on, right?
Hmm.
So do you mind like getting into like that area of your past and just like how did that inform what you discovered in your professional life?
Yeah. The reason why I brought up the sports thing
Yeah.
it's about team. So
Okay.
at the risk of sounding like a Boy Scout, the idea of working in teams has always appealed to me, and
Okay,
I've
gotcha.
loved, I've loved it.
Like
So
sports teams or but you could extend it to work teams kind of.
yeah, absolutely, high
Yeah.
pressure, performance oriented teams. And
Hmm.
when I was graduating from school, I was so focused on that. I thought I would either be a fireman or I whittled it down to fireman or work in advertising. And my dad worked in advertising. He's a marketing consultant. He had his own boutique consultancy, and he was
Oh.
very much on the sideline, not nudging me forward. So one day when I came to him and I said, "Just tell me about this advertising thing," and I grew up very exposed to marketing, communication, brands, people, desire, wants, all that stuff, because we had a very open family and we talked about lots of different things. So
Mm.
um, when that started to happen, I uh, my dad just pointed me in some directions in San Francisco during the .com era, and I found myself at a great advertising agency called Goldberg Moser O'Neill, which had tons and tons of identity and edge
Mm.
and pedigree to it, and just really, really talented people. So that was just a great place to be. And I was, again, in a situation where you're working on teams inside of a bigger shop. You organize by your team tribe.
Yep.
You kind of benevolently compete with each other about who's got the best team, who's doing the best work. And then as an agency, you line up and you compete against everybody else. And it's absolutely 100% competitive. And uh, that was really fun. It was really,
Yeah.
really fun. And the team aspect is always something. I mean, we very much try to run Bullish like a team dynamic,
Mm.
not a family. It can feel very familial.
Yeah.
Very much run it like a team,
Yeah.
where people have roles and responsibilities and a lot of trust and autonomy. As long as we show up and you make the plays, all is
Yeah.
good. Um,
Yeah.
so that was great. But I think the cornerstone of what your question's about for me is I fell in love with the demand side of the equation,
Mm.
and I loved everything that's romantic about advertising, but I loved the ability to uh, look at a brand and shape possibility for a business or a product that isn't obviously there yet. And
Mm.
that was really fun. It was really fun work.
Yeah, you know, I resonate with the story part of, or rather, you backtracking and talking about the advertising life. Are you talking about how it's a team mentality? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was very like when I was like, pitching to work at several agencies here in
Yeah.
Canada, everybody like seemed to like have the same mentality. You could tell because they were wearing like, oh, this agency wore black shirts, and this agency wore flannel. For
Yeah.
everybody had like a uniform, but it seemed casual from the outside, but it was a uniform when you look at
Yeah.
and do pattern recognition across all the people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's very like that resonates with me when you
But
getting
I mean,
started.
I've very much subscribed to the idea. I've said this many, many times that like
Yeah,
human beings aren't, self-directed, independent, rational actors. We're like a herd-based group that
yeah,
makes emotional decisions and needs like functional alibis. So people tend to just absorb their environment
yeah.
more than they might admit. And
Yeah, they don't even have words for it. It's just
yeah.
automatic. Yeah. So you know about how crowds move, right? Like
Mm,
you just mentioned demand is God, right? And
mm,
I remember that line that it stuck with me in our onboarding call, right? You said demand is God, so why try build something and figure out what people want later, right?
mm.
I love that, and like I'd love to know like where did that come from, right? And
Yeah.
like yeah, would love to dig into that.
Um, so I think we're all trying to figure out what's next,
Yeah.
and there's just a big difference between what you could do and what you should do. And what we've seen over the years, from advertising to marketing to the venture fund to the marketing practices we have here, is that if you're in consumer, and I would make the argument in B2B as well too, need and want and desire are always very far ahead of where categories are. And it's even the best companies in the world are shooting behind the duck. Even in a totally accelerated world where you can make anything a lot faster, where AI is speeding up every single part of the chain, so to speak.
Yeah.
It is, if you have more than 3 people in a room, it's just there's always a lack thereof. Now, people and culture often, well, culture probably articulates faster than people do. Individual people have a hard time articulating and presenting that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the good work, is staying in between those motions of what could be done and what should be done, and figuring out ways to develop insights through multiple sources, and finding the patterns inside of them, because it's never one thing. It's never one piece of data. That's a piece of data. An insight is usually a moment where a team or teams can move forward with a set of information that allows them to start building something that really is hopeful and desired. But I think one of the things that we saw when we came into venture, and I would just say the early stages, is first it was model centric, and then it was product centric. And
do you mind, what's the difference? Like model centric is just like talking about the business
venture
model?
was like in the beginning it was very technology, and it was very model centric, and it was business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
A16 brings in this concept of product centric, which is we're going to build awesome products, and we'll teach these people how to be executives, and technology's coming up in a huge way. And there's been lots of success that way. I think there is no shortage of good products in this country.
Yes.
There really isn't. So like even in B2B and B2C, there's no shortage. So it's usually the group that is able to anticipate the thing that is known but unsaid, and build towards that usually has, a remarkable outcome in and around those things. It's not that you don't it's not that you listen to everything they say. You still have to edit, you still have to put it out there. But
yes,
right now when you go to market, the dogma is product-led growth, MVP, figure out your product market fit. And that's a single product kind of iteration system, and there's way more ways to go to market. Product-led growth feels convenient and comfy because you just keep working on the product and then build it and they will come. That is just not reality.
That's the Amazon way of doing it a long time ago.
Yeah, if you've got hundreds of millions of dollars and a lot of time, that sounds great. That sounds great. But we're trying to deliver in a shorter time frame. And when you're in consumer, you've made a product. You're going to do slight tweaks to it, and you might change the branding, which is where a lot of people think that that's their issue. Something that can change. So they're like, oh, I just need to get my branding right. It's more times than not, it's about understanding what the brand position is, and then figuring out how you're going to orchestrate a series of behaviors, including your packaging, including your partnerships, including how the retailers you pick to go there. But that should all be in service of meeting some kind of unsaid, widely known tension about this category, and if you're really hitting it, about culture that this product begins to relieve a little bit. Or you can spend a ton of money with Mark Zuckerberg trying to figure out your CAC AOV LTV ratio and still not brand.
Trying to figure out metaverse.
Yeah.
So you reminded me of you said there's no shortage of good product, right? It's all about demand, and I'm thinking of like way in the late 90s there was this HD format. I think it was Betamax versus
VCR,
VCR.
VHS, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Right, but one over the other. Betamax arguably was a good
Mhm.
product, right? So like, h- if you don't mind, I'm a founder myself, right? And like,
Mhm.
how do you, what are, do you have examples of like um, demand that was signaled to you by public and how a company reacted to it?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I love that you brought up that example. So the first time I ever moved into strategy inside of an agency, the woman who made me a strategist, Lisa Welch-Naring, she was a great strategist. She worked at Chiat,
Mm.
and she was my strategy mom. She made me read a book called Diffusion of Innovations,
Mm.
and and it's a book that's 40 years old, and it still stays. It's like totally foundational for me. The tipping point based on top of it, and that is one of the signature case studies, is the difference between VCR or VHS and beta, which is,
Wow, I will want to
yeah,
catch that book and read
it's
it. Wow.
a phenomenal book. Some of the um, archetyping and cohort analysis they do doesn't hold up well over time, but the structure, the bell curve of innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, all that comes from diffusion of innovations, and there's been work built on top of it. So finding a signal and demand and then building towards it, you don't have to look much further than one of our portfolio companies, Bandit.
Okay.
So Bandit is a Brooklyn-based global running brand,
Yes.
and that is really trying to meet people where they are at in the third wave of running. And when we met, we had the good fortune of meeting Bandit. We were moving towards a thesis that there would be more of a disintermediation of media channels, just based on the idea of people following people more and more. And this is
Okay. Yeah. Like
on the,
influencers, for example.
yeah, like the rise of the creator economy, not just people saying I like stuff, but people making stuff in service of the stuff they like.
Mm.
So we made an investment in a creator-led snack brand. We also, so that thesis also parallels over to Bandit, which is, Bandit was interesting to us because they were building for a community, not trying to put a community onto it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And what first Tim, then his brother Nick, and then Ardith, the designer, came in. What they started to see was, in the pandemic, they were right on top of, as personal experience, on top of this idea of running is not just about personal performance. It's about community, and it's about, I'll use the word, a tribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is a huge running community in New York, like a worldwide, massive community of runners in New York. It's not the only place it's super strong, but it's one of the strongest, most prolific communities there is. So Tim started building a sock. Just
What? A sock?
a sock.
Oh, okay.
And there was a shortage of really good socks, and that's what everybody was complaining about. He had just come to running. He was an elite D1 athlete in soccer. So
Is that how it
he
started?
took up running, and he's like, oh, people are complaining about socks. I think I can make a really cool sock. So he made a cool sock. He called it Bandit. He sold it out of his apartment, yada, yada, yada. Then it was, oh, there's something here. And brings in Nick, who's just a beast of a leader and analytical, just savant. Was working at Jet.com and Walmart at the time. So understood the business. So then they started just building a bigger brand around that stuff. And what they started to understand was that there was a community that they could really galvanize. So they did a membership program, and then they started building not just a loyalty program, but a membership program. And if you go to Bandit, you're highly incentivized to join the membership. It's an incredible value. And that's an incredible, valuable cohort of people to Bandit. And they bend over backwards trying to really please that group, and not just listen to them, but lead them in terms of things that they didn't think that were possible. They run a drop culture. So they run seasonal artists, a classically trained fashion designer, and then they run big limited time offerings at big, huge races. So and then when their run club that they sponsored wanted to go to Mexico City, they went to Mexico City. So they get really inspired by their group, and then they work together, and then they take a little time themselves, and they delight them with stuff that that this community wanted but didn't know they needed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really, really, really interesting because like I was doing I'm gonna go and do some ICP exercises
Mhm.
and then work with my team
Mhm.
later like today. And one of the key things is we're thinking in categories, we're thinking in industries, but what you're talking to me about right now is like even within a category, an industry, there's a community. So think
Mhm.
around that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, yeah. Like, let's say if I can think of, I was thinking of business owners who, let's say, do like printing services, for example.
Mhm.
But I could just do a community of business owners along a certain strip, for example,
Yeah.
in town, or have a certain income. Like there's not they're not necessarily joined by making the same thing, but joined in some other way. Like
Yeah.
you right, like just like the running club is made of people who have different interests, but just have one shared interest.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the other thing too is like, and I learned this from working in advertising, and working in advertising at the agencies I was fortunate enough to work at. Like,
yeah,
you're working with Fortune 50 companies, and um, you the agency is getting paid a lot of money
yeah,
to uh, um, figure out a way to generate more relevance out of an existing brand or product
yeah,
without really being able to change the product or brand. That's a longer conversation about why we started Bullish. But
yeah,
um, in that instance, the bar is so high. What you begin to understand is that brands are about shared values.
yeah,
They really are. It sounds a little fluffy at times, but your brand, and I don't mean like integrity, trust, honesty, which is like your values of your company, which
mm.
are every company has the same values. Like, there's no company in the world doesn't think they're about integrity. They have high
Yeah.
integrity.
Like sustainability, like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So if you're listening, push on your values, because I guarantee you they're not that different than everybody else.
Mm.
The But the brand's values, what it believes around that stuff. So like take Airbnb.
Yeah,
Airbnb believes that like people should be open and kind to one another and embrace differences, right? Like that's what the brand believes. I'm sure Airbnb believes that as a well too.
yeah,
It's those things. But then what you're trying to do is you're going to do your ICP work. So think about the value system that drives these people that you
yeah,
share as a brand around
yeah,
that. Whether you're B2B or B2C, your brand has a value system out in the
yeah.
world that is projecting to someone. And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to find a cohort of people. We don't talk about ICPs, we talk about muses.
Oh, sorry, muses.
Muses, which is like
Oh, interesting.
who is the person that embodies your values, the value set of many, 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 many millions of people that you would
That
work with.
is an interesting approach.
Yeah, I think the thing that's really tough about digital is nano targeting, which then gets into ICPs, and what you end up articulating is a commercial target that usually implies a low cost of acquisition, and that is just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm.
When you're building a brand, you want to have a muse. In fact, before that, you want to cut the world in two.
The muse, eh?
You want to create
Okay.
a binary world that's based on value systems. On the road of life, there's drivers and passengers. Drivers wanted. Great, we're for drivers, and then you're trying to articulate a real archetype of a person around that. Trader Joe's
Mm.
talks about it as a substitute teacher who drives a late model Volvo.
Yeah,
I'm not a substitute teacher who drives a late model Volvo, but there's a value system in that of frugality and education that I actually attach to whatever I am, and
yeah,
that's a really powerful system. But if they built a brand around me, they'd leave tons of stuff on the table. So it's really tough, and I think that's one of the things out of PLG that just doesn't really ever get there, which is just thinking about what I would say is the next evolution after product centric investing, which is I would
yeah,
say culture centric investing, which is understanding people better than anybody else, where culture is going,
Yeah.
not what they need that they'll tell you in a survey, but what they want because you sat with them and you talked with them for a while and you understand kind of where the puck is going, so to speak.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
How's that for a
Yeah.
tangent? Sorry, I can't
No,
really.
no, no, no. That was that was really, really like cool. Like I might want to go in
Sure.
on deeper in that tangent because like even measuring culture is a
Mm,
new avenue, right? But before that, let's park it because there's one thing that
yeah,
that was in our onboarding call.
yeah,
You mentioned you said branding is not a moat, but a brand is. And I'm
yeah.
like, what are you talking about? What is it? What is the nuance here?
Full disclosure, I love design and I
Mm,
love branding.
yeah.
And I have a deep, deep belief that it is a dark art that works on the amygdala in like wild, wild ways. And I always love design. In Bullish, we do a lot of it. So
Mm,
we were doing it in the ad agencies, but we didn't do it like we're doing it at Bullish, and it's phenomenal. So I believe in it deeply. But when people are building consumer brands, they stop at branding, which is the way you sound, the way you look, and
okay. The
what you name
way.
what you name yourself, the logo, the color system, the fonts, the way in which you organize all that on a package, on a secondary package, on a website, all of that. It absolutely matters. Um,
The packaging, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's case on case of packaging switching and new attention being earned and sales going up. It will not last because it's new and novel.
Mm,
And then it doesn't take much for your competitor to redo their packaging or all that stuff. I think far too
yeah.
often the businesses think that they have a look and feel and sound problem.
Yeah.
And sound is probably honestly the biggest thing, which is how you talk about the benefits. Are you selling attributes or are you selling benefits?
Mm,
And are you selling benefits that are in a way different than the category? But you're gonna be in a dogfight if you think that's the way to growth. Like you're just gonna be wrenching on it. Like take RX bar for example. That's largely thought of as, oh, that's a packaging remake,
yeah.
and it's to the moon. I think that is partially true. I think the other thing that is very true about that business is that was the one thing that was missing. It was a novel form factor. So there's a protein, what is it? I only know them as protein bars, but like
Mm,
it was a bar with a novel. It was all natural.
yeah.
It didn't look the same. It didn't taste the same. They put it into interesting packaging, but they had a niche audience as well too. They were
Mm,
sitting right on top of the CrossFit phenomenon, talking like CrossFits talk, in terms of the RX, which is what is vernacular straight out of the CrossFit community. And
yeah.
again, here it is, right there is the same thing: novel product, novel packaging, novel audience, built for a community,
Like it fits their world.
built for a community that has a disproportionately high level of influence. Red Bull, novel ingredient, taurine, novel packaging, slim can, novel niche audience, extreme athletes, that has a disproportionately high influence on the rest of culture. That's the formula in and around that stuff, and that's the brand. That's the brand. Who you
Interesting.
go after, the things you do for them, your ability to make a second product, a third product that is an extension of your brand, not like Ferrari's new car,
Yeah.
like an extension of their brand. That's how you build a very, very strong brand. That's a moat. That's absolutely a moat. It just doesn't show up as one line item on a financial plan.
Yeah. How
So
would you do that? How would you like even articulate that? But yeah. Okay. All right. So it sounds like this Venn diagrams into what you said earlier. Like go after culture, right? Is this what you mean, right? Like the situate the product
mhm.
within that community where it's like an indispensable item or I'm using the wrong word for it, like a prop in that universe, right?
Yeah,
It's indispensable. You can't do without it in that
yeah.
world or that community. That's how you think about it when doing community
I
and
think so.
stuff,
I think
or
so.
culture. Yeah.
There's another saying which is like, you're really hitting it when people don't just buy your product but they buy into it, and
Mm,
I think that's a great thing to start to assess. Like the when we talk about we don't talk about product market fit, we talk about product culture fit, and product
yeah.
culture fit is really around the idea that you have a rabid group of people
Yeah.
that are coming back pretty organically
Yeah.
to your product and interested in your next product, and just can't help themselves
Mm,
to talk about the product. That's how we measure it, and we have proxy KPIs for that stuff. They're no different than everybody else. We have one that is ours that we made called the Remarkability Index,
yeah.
which is a kind of kissing cousin of a Net Promoter Score. It just asks how frequently you have talked about it versus would you be willing, which is like a funny thing to report on future behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very proven, and like we're big fans of that NPS score.
Mm,
So anyway, that's how we're thinking about it, and you can measure it. You can begin to measure that stuff,
yeah.
and it's a little bit more nuanced than like how much time I spent on the app.
Yeah. I want to like go on another tangent, but still around culture.
Let's do it.
So the community that I'm in, right? There's a lot of crypto people,
Yeah,
right? And we've experienced lots of ups and downs.
yeah.
And one of the famous ones were the DeFi and the NFT ones. But
Hmm.
given the framework that we are talking about culture building, right? And adoption and demand, right? Like how would you frame what happened with, let's just say, the NFT market, like what they did well, but then something sputtered. What did they do wrong, or what did people do wrong, and what did they do right at the beginning? What did they do, and where did they lose steam over?
Just NFTs. I mean,
I mean,
I'm
any in crypto
well,
in general. Yeah, yeah.
let's take NFTs. That's probably
Okay.
the piece of the blockchain that I understand the most, and that's a pretty generous statement about myself.
Fair
Um,
enough.
but the reason I probably understand it the most is because, in my mind, that is the creation of a brand. So I think the short answer, and then I'll go a little bit longer, is
Yeah.
I think the reason why NFTs failed is the companies failed to create value in the things that they were selling.
Okay. To
So
the community, value
to
to
the
the community.
community, to the
Okay.
community. So the companies went very fast to capture rabid demand that was present
Mm.
in terms of creating an NFT that had enough hype around it and heat around it that it could be purchased and immediately increase in value. But the moat, so to speak,
Yeah.
for creating the next NFT is quite low, and people started to cash in. So they weren't creating the hype machines. Who made it? What's going on here? And I think what I saw from the outside is I saw a lot of people trying to spin up NFTs by just making digital art that wasn't it wasn't being made by someone interesting.
Oh.
It was a radical democratization of it. But it was an interesting dynamic because it's 101% about value creation, perceived value of that thing. So the first ones, very, very valuable. They were the first. Then a bunch of people come in and it's just a factory of making NFTs, and then it just kind of commoditizes the market.
Mm. And there's lots
And
of it. Yeah.
right. So then it's like, oh, let's make another one. Oh, let's make another one. As opposed to taking that and going, great, you own a piece of NFTX that was very, very valuable. Our commitment is that we're going to keep increasing the value of that NFT for you by doing things around it. We
Mm.
might, because we own a piece of it too, we might be giving it somewhere to increase the value of it, putting it into places, into culture, so that I have the exclusive version of that NFT
Mm.
that now is increasing in value in culture, mass culture, not just crypto culture. And none of the companies were set up to really manage a brand that was the last NFT that they made. They were set up to just sell the next NFT, right? And I think that's the thing in consumer is most consumer brands, and I would say B2B too, but like this, our specialty is consumer, is they get to the cultivation of a customer base. They wait too long to do it. And the cultivation of a customer base is CRM, it's your innovation pipeline, it's the partnership that you do, it's all that stuff. They just get focused in on the stuff that they can measure quickly, which is the cost of what it is for me to be in business, and CAC, the cost of acquisition. And because there's a huge system of pseudo measurement that happens there. So they just stay on their computer and they just feel like they just work that machine. It is much harder to build a brand around customer lifetime value, and I think that's what the community got wrong. And I think they didn't bring in enough. I mean, this is very, very
I love your take, but
biased, but I don't think they brought in enough brand builders. They stayed in the tech world, and the tech world is historically not great at building brands, except for, I don't know, Steve Jobs, who's the best in the world, the best marketer in the world. Elon Musk is a pretty good marketer too.
So look, this is very interesting, right? There's some follow-up questions I want to ask about. You know, like you paint a picture of how companies really do really well when they create communities and they have instant demand from those communities because they really jive really well, right? And then from your help me understand, because like from that it seemed that this kind of dynamic does so well that you transitioned into being a VC brand and started or a VC company and started backing not only this company but essentially this model, right, of thinking, right? Would love to hear about Bullish, how it came to be, and you know, just if you can tackle it. I get a sense that doing the approach that you talked about is a slog, right? And because it's because it feels grassroots, right? But but I could be wrong. But like because VCs, or rather, doesn't VCs want action really fast and results really fast, right? So I feel there's a tension going on.
There is.
Would love to get your take.
It's a great question. I think I think it is a slog. It really is. It's definitely a slower way to go. It remains to be seen, but we think it's a much more valuable one. One of our first investments is Harry's, which is now a part of Mammoth, same company. And
the shaving brand?
Harry's.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
One of our first investments, they own Coterie now. They've got Loom. They've got a bunch of other brands. And when Mike and I first invested in that company, Jeff and Andy worked out of Bullish for about a year and built their team. And we would do office hours, and we have this exercise where we talk about the end of the company and
end of, like, really
mission accomplished, when it's mission accomplished. And
gotcha.
Jeff and Andy were we've done this exercise over 100 times now with 100 different companies, whether it be on the fund side or the agency side. Jeff and Andy were the only ones that really didn't want to do it. And but they've been incredibly consistent. They've been really consistent about trying to build a 100-year-old company and think about a new and interesting way to run a packaged goods company. So they're on it, and I think that company's 12 years old now. So ventures on a 7 to 10 year time horizon. What we are impatient about is the company needs to be doubling every year. It just needs to be the company needs to be doubling in size every year. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a liquid event in 3 years or anything like that, but it does mean that you need to be showing that you are growing very, very fast. And that can't, and fastest way to do that could be an arbitrage on acquisition. I think if you do that, you're going to be poisoning your business because you're going to be bringing in low cost. It doesn't sound very nice. Low quality customers. It's a gross phrase. It's not what it sounds like.
Okay.
It just means that you're going to be bringing in a customer that is kind of spontaneous and isn't really invested in you.
Or aligned, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna probably empty out the bottom of your kind of customer pool pretty quick because they're looking for a deal or they thought this was interesting and they're not really that into it. So to set up a culture that's really focused on, let's just take two sets of KPIs, CAC and COGS.
Yeah.
Pretty fast, I'd argue a very low value to a customer and a potential acquirer. Because potential acquirer is going to go, I can get better pricing on product than them, and I can get, I've got a machine that can get CAC down better. So what am I buying? I'm buying branding? Wow, that's not that valuable. Versus a culture that is focused on AOV, average order value, and customer lifetime value. There are much more people involved in that. It is much harder to orchestrate as a leader. You're looking at more complex data sets that are giving you signal. You have to keep taking swings. You have to think about your second product and your third product. You have to think about that deal that you might cut with another brand that looks a little unfair to you, but you think it's going to pay out in the end.
Long term,
it's hard. It's not only long, you have to keep making bets and keep making swings.
But don't die in the act.
And I think the thing is like when you look at CAC and COGS, you had to make a big swing to start the company, but everything else is pretty like A to B data informed. So you can tuck into that. And we have some companies in the portfolio that won't move past this dynamic of what I would say is just like the DTC arbitrage. And it's the companies that move over here that are doing outsized success.
Yeah.
So it could take a little bit longer. I think you're building much more valuable companies. There's lots of cases of people spinning up brands and doing a CAC arbitrage and selling their company for hundreds of millions of dollars in 3 years. Those are the exception to the rule. And we hear about them because they're fun. But we all know that most everything in the early stage fails, as in goes zero. So we got to be careful about these hyperbolic examples because more times than not, the data will show you that the companies are on a 7 to 10 year run, not a 3-year run.
Yeah, interesting. So, I go back to the example of the NFTs. Like, it's like I have this product for you customer, and my goal is to make this product more valuable to you. That kind of thinking then could apply to like Bandit, for example, like right, like or other brands. Like the Bandit would say these shoes or these socks, for example, will be more valuable to you because your community values this a lot. It seems like that's the way of doing it. That's the moat that this product has. That only this community has.
I mean, I think Morgan Andreessen said it like or someone else. It was like the advent of the blockchain is like first it was the internet was read, then it was write, now it's own, and I think that's really cool. And I'm forgive me, I'm really bullish on the idea of NFTs coming back because I think as a mechanism, the idea that you get to essentially become a micro owner or big of part of the brand that you love, I think is phenomenal. I'm one of the few people that loves multi-level marketing. I just think it's really interesting when people feel like, oh, I own a part of this. And we've seen it in our marketability index when we have that metric There's a mark, which is recognition of me in this business, a consumer in this business. When that goes up, it has a nice effect on remarkability. I think we're living in a culture where one of our huge themes that we track $1 trillion themes, and one of them is individuals over institutions.
Oh, okay.
And I think, and there's a lot of sub themes, but there's a lot of businesses that comes into. The simplest way to explore it is a feeling of becoming a participant and DIYing everything. And I think you can see that show up in finance. You can see it show up in home improvement. You can see it show up in business. This idea that I will do this right now, and it's a sad thing. It's a very, very, very sad thing. Because it means that there's an erosion of institutions, and they feel like they have to do it themselves. And I think as a pack animal, we still need institutions out there. So I have a very mixed emotions about it.
Or maybe we haven't found the new role these big institutions have.
Yeah. Maybe not. But I think that dynamic is quite big. And I think when it comes to things like blockchain and NFTs, it's sitting right on top of it. But I think the idea that we don't just want to be a number, we don't just want to be a transaction, that we want to be valued, as an individual and by that company. I think NFTs and the blockchain represent a huge mechanism around that. So I think in the not so distant future, I think there will be an NFT strategy for almost every brand, because it's just too good. Like, think about the Bandit membership program. That could go on to they're not the guys.
It could be membership.
They a member of what? It's really, really interesting. Really interesting.
This is very poignant, right? Like the mechanisms you talk about are so innate to brands that they're doing it already. It's just so, or rather, the brands that you talked about are doing it already. It's just that the advent of NFTs didn't surface certain items, which is ownership, feeling that they have something more valuable. It wasn't until NFTs came out, right? That this is just a thing that you could like hone in on when you're building culture. It's really, really, really poignant.
I think the other thing that's really interesting is, like, having been in a couple Discord communities, I still think the people that were managing those companies and those NFT brands, you still have to get it right, that you need to edit for the community, not just do everything they say.
Of course,
There's still a real big tention, right? Because
but the influencers are within the community are already good at that. But also the brand should be doing it too.
But there was some stuff that we were circling around an NFT based kind of golf thing, and so we were diligencing it for months, and you saw a lot of paralysis on the team because the community spoke up and they didn't want to disrespect the community, but they think that so they're trying to be like the blockchain way of, like, it's totally democratic and it's but like, as a brand, you need to lead. So like, it's a very complex way, managing a community is high art.
A high art. Yeah. I like, trust me, like I've seen like crypto communities, even like Ethereum Foundation are like, they don't necessarily have everything right. Even now they had to go through some rebranding for themselves too.
Yeah.
Well, so Brent, I want to be mindful of your time here. Just one final thing. This has been a really fascinating conversation, and I think people should reach out to you to talk more about brand, more about like how it relates to like VCs. How can they do that?
Honestly, the best way to learn more about Bullish and the things we talk about and I talk about is to follow us on LinkedIn. And the only thing I post on is LinkedIn, and I try and share thoughts out there that I really care about, with the hope that they're helpful. And maybe that leads some people to us, for us to either help as a fund, or you're a bigger company and you're trying to start something up. So that's the best way to kind of get a hold of like what we really think and what we're doing and things like that. and kind of go from there. Our website's about to be relaunched in maybe 4 weeks. And there's ways to get in contact with us there. The only reason I'm being a little cagey about my email is there's
oh yeah, for sure.
we see 3,000 deals a year, and we get a lot of inbound on the agency side because we are confusing, and people are like, "Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me?" So it's best to just kind of take a look at us, and happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, sounds good, totally. And it's good to it's a good problem to have, like that, so much inbound coming in.
Yeah, but, I mean, there could always be a lot more.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, totally. So Brent, I appreciate you coming over. I appreciate your takes on like how branding applies to go to market, right? Which is not really go to market; it's really go to culture. The way
I love that. I love
that. So I really appreciate your take, and even like putting a lens or that lens on top of what I know, which is crypto, right? And I think the audience that I'm a part of would love to like see this podcast and see your takes around it. So
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming over.
Thanks for reaching out, man. I think what you're doing is really cool. I really enjoyed the onboarding, and this is the great questions, and I really enjoyed this. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. We had fun here. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end the call here, and